Okay.
Hello! Welcome to our second week of Nano Prep. We are getting super excited for NaNoWRIMO next month. Megan is wearing like a NaNoWRIMO shirt every week in these chats, apparently. So, so that's how excited we are. So this week we're going to be focusing on like how to like gather together some inspiration, because sometimes that can really make the difference when you're halfway through November and you like don't care anymore and you don't want to write anymore. Like having things you can like look at and listen to that make you excited to write again. So definitely ask us any questions you have about inspiration and getting ready down in the question Q&A discussion, whatever it's called, on some side of the screen. I don't know. But anyway, so we're going to start with talking about just like when you like have a shiny new idea and you're getting excited about it and you're making notes about it, where is the first place you go to kind of get some inspiration for the book? And the first person I have is Kyra.
Yes. Now no one can steal my answer because my answer is Pinterest, and I think that's probably true for yes, Pinterest. Usually. I have boards. I call them my pretty people boards, but they're just boards of people that I think are pretty and don't have necessarily characters for already. So then when I like am wanting to get started on a new idea, I go see if there are any pretty people on my boards that I want in my book, and then I pin them to a different board specifically for that book.
Megan?
It's not exactly Pinterest, but the images I find do go on my Pinterest. I love looking artists that I follow on Twitter and Tumblr who I really, really like. My favorite is Miranda Meeks, M-E-E-K-S, and I love looking through her artwork to find which dark, beautiful painting has the exact feel that I want for the idea I've just had. Save them on Pinterest.
My answer is also Pinterest. It's like super helpful, I think, to like get a good visual. Like, I don't know about you guys, but I'm like not good at like visualizing things like in my head without anything to reference. So even like my characters, I'm like, I don't know, they have faces, maybe. Like,
maybe I know a hair color.
What do cities look like? I don't know. So like I need pictures to look at to like get an idea so I can describe things. And kind of like Kyra, I have like a board that's just like my Write Me board, and it's just like random things I've pinned that I like things that I'm like, oh, it'd be cool to write like a character that looks like this, or like a setting like this, or just like random things. And so I usually go to that board first and find like anything in there that I feel like would fit the shiny new idea and move that into like a separate board. And then from there I start like looking at like the suggested pictures based on those ones and just gathering stuff that looks cool.
Yeah. I always like go into the Pinterest thing and just search like, so the idea I have for Nano that I'm probably gonna do if I can get far enough into my current work in progress is it involves octopi. And so I just like went into the Pinterest search bar and was like octopus illustration and it gave me like some octopi. Yeah, and then like also it'll give you other similar illustrations that maybe it doesn't have an octopus in it, but it is kind of creepy and it's an illustration and there's water. And that's how I find almost everything. It's just like Pinterest using its computery intuition to show me other things I might like when I search octopus.
I love when I have like a shiny new idea and I've been doing that, and then I log into Pinterest, because usually like my Pinterest just like homepage is like recipes that people are pinning and like all sorts of other stuff that I've been looking at, but I can always tell when I've been like researching things for a shiny new idea because I log in and it's just all like fantasy images and like castles and pretty people and cool art. And I'm like,
I think my Pinterest recommendations is just like, we have no idea what you're trying to accomplish at this point.
It's like that. It's like
I can also
it's like vegetarian meals plus creepy pictures, like and purple hair. Like what is your life?
we noticed you're a vegetarian who likes pictures of murder. Like, what do you want?
I can also tell when Megan's been like brainstorming because we follow each other. So all of a sudden I'm like getting like pictures of corpses. I'm like, oh, Megan's pinning again.
Megan
I
has
don't
a
think
new
that was
idea.
anything I searched.
Yeah, I like
Megan's
called
pictures
down
are
my
not the
list
fan
of.
art.
Yes, I like them that way. I like called down on the number of people I follow recently, like way down, because I originally followed like 100 people, and a ton of them were from college. And it's like, A, do I need to see like their teaching lesson plans and stuff? No. B, they don't want to see what I'm pinning either. Like, I know they don't. And so I like brought it all the way down to like just my writer friends and some of my favorite writers, and now it like all my recommendations are just amazing.
Yeah, I actually was in my Pinterest this week because I was pinning stuff for a shiny new idea, which was maybe a terrible decision on my part because now it's all I want to think about. But and so I was like cleaning up my Pinterest and like getting rid of some old boards and stuff. And I actually think that sometimes, you know, I'm just going to create a separate account just for writing stuff because yeah, it's like half my Pinterest is like purple hair and like recipes and like random Harry Potter pins, and then the rest is like writing stuff. And I'm like, I don't think these reach the same audiences. Like half the people who follow me don't care about the writing stuff. So yeah, I think I'm just gonna do a separate one eventually.
Probably smart.
Yeah.
If I'd known what I was getting into when I created Pinterest, I might have done that.
Yeah. I might as well do it now where it might be a little bit more manageable to like switch everything over.
Yeah, I'm too far gone, I think.
Yeah.
Like it's gonna be a lot of work, but I sit at a circulation desk for hours in the library, so I'll just like click, like repin.
It has been a little weird. The work in progress I'm working on right now is like a very, very light sci-fi, but it's mostly contemporary. So it's like I don't have a lot to pin, I guess. Like I don't have any world building stuff. I have a couple kind of like character pins. It's not. I can't like waste time on Pinterest because it's like not a good excuse anymore.
It is a time suck.
Yeah, which is why you want to do all your pinning in October rather than in November when you're like, hey man, I wish I had some really awesome images that could just really get me inspired and get me going. Better spend 5 hours looking for them now on November 15th when I'm stuck. Or November like 3rd if you're me. Oh, we had a question about how do you get inspiration to come up with character names, or like particularly find names that you've never heard of?
I think it depends entirely on what kind of book you're writing. Like it's been a way different process since I am writing a more contemporary-ish where I'm using like real world names than like in the past when I've done fantasy names.
Yeah, I've pretty much given up even in fantasies in like trying to like make up names because I'm just not good at it. I've like come to terms with the fact that like when I try to make up names, they just sound dumb. So like I still just use real world names. I'm like, why not? But I do a lot of times like I try to like my work in progress right now, like the setting is like this island nation that has like a bunch of different groups of people who came from like other like countries and kingdoms and settled there. And so I tried to kind of like base the different characters from different cultures off of names from different cultures in our world so that they would have like a different feel, like so you could kind of like tell the people were from certain cultures, if that makes any sense. But yeah, that's about all I did. I still use real world names. I was like,
I have started, we had Prophetic Prose recommended Nameberry, which I spend a lot of time on Nameberry when I'm looking for names. I have recently started for my fantasy books looking up old maps of places. So if I want the names to have like a romantic feel or whatever, I'll look up a map of 1600s France and see what city names I find. And I will pretty frequently try like changing up the spelling or just changing one syllable of it or something. So it's not exactly the same anymore, but it's still a little familiar. I think Susan Denner talks about the importance, particularly with fantasy names, of them still feeling familiar. So it's not a name with like 14 consonants and 2 vowels and no one knows how to say it and no one can talk to anyone about your book.
Yes.
And Griswold said, whenever I come across a name I like, I save it in an Evernote notebook. So when I'm in need of a character name, I just go to that list. It took a while to build up, but I love having it. I highly recommend making a list of names. That way you can just, when you need a new character, you can be like, oh, look, here's my list of names. I don't have to spend 2 hours on Nameberry or researching old world maps.
I always wish I had a list of names.
Yeah.
I have
I
one,
need
but
like
I
some
never
tertiary
remember
character to have a
update it.
name. I'm like, crap, I have to figure this out now.
Yeah. I almost never start an idea now without like making a list of names for that idea that have like this a similar feel, so they feel like they're from the same area and stuff.
Yeah.
Feel free to ask us any questions you might have about getting inspired or about NaNoWRIMO. Obviously, we are spread a little thin tonight because it is Canadian Thanksgiving tomorrow. So all of our Canadians are gone. But we're here, America. Just Zebra asked, have you used Storyboard for inspiration?
No.
I don't know what that is. No, I'm looking it up.
Same. Because I may use it if it looks really cool. Digital storytelling. Powerful visual communication made easy. Sorry, I'm looking through the comments, trying to make sure I haven't missed anything. Oh, and Griswold asked if we have created our stories on NaNoWRIMO yet.
I have.
You're so on top of things.
I don't think I'm officially doing it this year, so I haven't. I'm mad though, because it's like a superhero theme this year, right?
Is it?
I think I have no idea. I never pay attention.
I feel like
the logo looks like
I
our
don't
end
either.
cards.
Now I gotta look it up, because I feel like when I got the email, it was like, of course, the year I can't do it. I don't know, maybe I could.
You could do it rebelliously. They have a badge for it. I have not made my story yet on Nano because I want to film all of my prepping and try and get back into posting updates on my personal YouTube channel too. And so I want to do all that there. I did make a story on the WordNerds Nano page that is getting deleted this week, but it's going to be great and very spooky.
Yeah, it was easy for me to do mine because it's the thing I'm already working on. So like, it was the same synopsis I had during Camp Nano in July. I was like, just copying this over.
Maybe I should just do that.
Yeah.
I think the one I'm revising, I think is actually the one I wrote the first draft of for last Nano.
It's full
Symmetry.
Simple. Maybe I will just sign up so I can get the badges.
Do it. And they've started a new thing where you get a streak.
Like how many
they like
years?
record your nano streak, and so I have like a 5-year streak now or whatever.
Okay, now I have to do it because I have done it like the last 3 or 4 years, so
Right.
I don't want to break that.
Yeah.
Okay, it's happening. Put that on my to-do list.
Yeah. I have like a note card of all the things I want to do, or not all the things I want to do, of all the ideas I've had thus far for this nano idea. Just, you know, real basic things like 2 sisters. One has lots of friends, the other has none. Flipping a coin for a kiss. Whatever that means. Climate like South Florida. So once I get enough of these ideas that I feel like I can have a title project. We had a question from Leah. Do any of you create playlists for your books? How do you go about it?
Yes.
Yes.
Spotify is my friend on this one.
Yes. And it actually will like suggest songs that you add to your playlist now, so
Yeah.
nice.
I usually know roughly what feel I want the book to have, whether it's psychologically dark or like slasher dark, and that affects the music I put on it. I birds in my music when I'm writing, so the world is pretty wide there, and I usually start with the angsty mid-2000s alt rock and just fill it up and see where it goes.
Megan and I have now like 20 hours worth of playlist for our co-authored project, so
Yeah.
there's a lot of angsty 2000s rock. And now Spotify does like a weekly recommended playlist that I sometimes like look at, and now like you like angsty 2000s rock now, right?
You're welcome.
I don't dislike angsty 2000s rock.
Is it all you want to listen to? Maybe not. But now you will.
My like playlists, I feel like in a way they differ from books. Like I use a lot of the same like types of music, but like some books I can write with like actual songs that have words, and then other ones I can only do instrumental, and it just depends on the book. So like some of my like book playlists are like more like current music, and then like my current project is like all like 2 Steps from Hell plus like a few like movie soundtracks. Just a lot of that. So 2 Steps from Hell is your friend as a writer if you want instrumental music.
Highly recommend.
So much music.
Yeah, they have like 15 albums or something. All instrumental, all epic. Sounds like it could be in a movie. Like, it's amazing.
And I also like to find new music for things like that. Like sometimes I'll just like, if I'm like getting ready in the morning or driving or something, I'll just like put on like a playlist on like iHeartMedia Music or whatever the app is called, iHeartRadio, or like Pandora or something, whatever your streaming of choice is. I'll just do like a playlist of like movie soundtracks if that's what I'm looking for, or angsty 2000s rock if that's what you're looking for. And just if something pops up, then like, oh, this would work for my book, then I'll like make note of it, take a screenshot or something on my phone so that I can add it later. So that's how I find new music to add usually.
I have fairly eclectic music tastes. Megan can vouch for this probably.
Yeah.
And for me, like I tend to be drawn way more to like the actual lyrics. Like I want the lyrics to fit with what the book is about.
I do love when the lyrics match up.
Yeah. So I just go through, like I have a lot of existing playlists already. So I have like my current music playlist, and I have my 90s music playlist, and I have my 80s playlist. I have like one for all the decades. So I just go through and all the playlists and like, oh, this song, it talks about things that happen, sort of like things in my book. So
and that's actually the content of lyrics is part of the reason that I can't always write with like songs with lyrics, is because like it has to be perfect for me to do it. Like the lyrics have to apply to the story, and so like I can't always like, there's not always enough songs that I know of that would fit. And so if it's like, even if it's like the right feel but not the right lyrics, I'm like, I can't do this.
It's like they said blue eyes and the character has brown eyes, can't do it. I'm not like that.
The book is over. I can't write it anymore.
You're a little bickier than I am.
For me, it's like, this is like 3 or 4 really relevant lines. It'll work.
Yeah.
Mm.
A lot of times I'm just too lazy to find things with relevant lyrics, and so I'm just like, I'll just listen to something instrumental instead.
I'm also a huge fan of show tunes, and so like if you stalk Kyra and I enough to find us on Spotify, you'll see our playlist for the books that we're writing together. And
all 3 of them. We have 3 of them.
Yeah, 3.
I'm not carried away at all.
Like all of my songs, it's all the angsty mid-2000s rock are usually me. Because I love
and then the show tunes are like 50-50 because I add some show tunes too.
True.
And then if it's from like any other genre, it's probably me.
Yeah, I really like seeing shows, and so a lot of times, like if a show has a moment that feels a lot to me like the moment that's going to happen in my book, then I like to have that there because I like emotions. So for example, I have a part in a book where my character gets busted. All these lies are coming out, and it's like really devastating and emotional and bad. And so whenever I was writing that, I just played Words Fail from Dear Evan Hansen just on repeat because it's just like so perfect, and it just like evokes these emotions in me that are perfect for like that moment.
My current playlist for my non-co-authored book has been kind of weird too because the characters in the book, several of them are musicians. So one of them's a violinist. So I have like a bunch of violin concertos on there. And then like one of them's a vocalist who does kind of her own arrangements of songs and likes vintage stuff. So I've got a lot of postmodern jukebox on there. And then like it's also just like a lot of random music where the lyrics kind of fit what's going on. So it's a really weird playlist, but yeah, it works.
We had a question about how do we get inspiration, and to answer that, I'm going to point you to our last week's video, choosing an idea, NaNoWRIMO Prep Week 1. We spent a little over an hour talking about all the different places that we get inspiration for story ideas and like how to develop those ideas. If you're on this video now, it's probably recommending it to you in the sidebar. Oh, we have a question from Nima. Let's talk snacks. What are your favorite snack strategies for NaNoWRIMO?
Sometimes when we do word sprints, I like to have a bag of M&Ms handy. And then for like, I have like, I think it's for every like 100 words I write, I get an M&M, so.
That's self-control. I don't have it. If they're next to me, I'm gonna eat them. I don't snack a lot while writing, but if I do it during like breaks. So like I'll write for like 25 minutes and then like take a 10-minute break, and that's when I'll go and like snack on something, because I just like I want my hands to be fully available for writing, and so I don't want to be like grabbing food. So I usually have like some water or maybe some tea, and that's like all I have with me like at my computer while I'm writing. So.
Yeah. I also like tea if it's the evening or afternoon. If it's morning, I probably have coffee because I like the jitters. In the morning, I'm like, yeah, let's do this. Let's write all the words. And I'm trying to write more in the morning because I've been doing this extended experiment where I'm realizing that even though I hate mornings, I write more words in the morning in shorter periods of time. And then I like to have easy meals ready. So lots of like easy to make like tortellini pasta. Or I really like those like veggie burger, like pre-made ones that you can buy just at Walmart or whatever, and you just like stick them in the oven. or just like fry them up. Something that will take me like 10 minutes so that I don't have to think and I can just like get right back into writing again. We had a question. Any tips for a writer with ADHD and OCD doing NaNoWRIMO? This is from Heidi. Did you say something, Emma? I saw your lips move, but didn't hear any sound.
I don't know. Not having ADHD or OCD, I'm not really sure like what would help most.
But I imagine, because I know there are plenty of writers with ADHD and OCD, and I'm sure some of them have written about it.
Yeah.
So I'm not knowledgeable on that either, but
yeah.
I imagine there are resources.
Yeah. And I'm assuming if you have lived with both of those things for all of your life, you probably have like figured out ways to like work with them and cope with them. So anything that you use for regular day-to-day like schoolwork and stuff like that will probably help you with writing too. Because I know like someone really close to me has OCD and they like have been able to learn ways to like cope with it and like ways that it won't like impact their day-to-day life as much. So just figure out what those things are for you. That's all I got.
And I think too, like being open to taking breaks and like not being too hard on yourself if it's a bad day. Like I do not have ADHD or OCD. I did struggle quite a lot with depression and anxiety. Very different mental health issues, but I think the lesson can still apply, just knowing like some days are gonna suck and some days it's just not going to be reasonable to sit at the desk and like try and make yourself do something. It's better to just take the time away and come back when you're feeling up to it. Like just take care of yourself first and the books, they will come. Yeah.
I would definitely think that, especially with ADHD, like writing in like shorter sprints and taking a lot of breaks will probably help. I don't have ADHD and that helps me stay focused, so.
We had another question. From Mad Ophelia. Yes. General nano motivation question. Last 2 years I've had huge trouble motivating because I hate editing / rewriting. How do I psych myself into creating another manuscript I'll probably never publish? I love the writing part though.
I kind of have that issue. I love doing first drafts and I have like a mountain of first drafts that, because I like writing them more than revising. So for me, it's always helped to like do it and then like put it aside for quite a while and then go back to it. So like I said, I'm right now revising and I just fairly recently started revising this, but something that I worked on last Nano and I really haven't touched it between like last Nano and Ho. Because then it kind of feels like a new project again, even if it's not.
And when it comes to drafting something new, like just don't think about the revisions, honestly. Like if that's like what's making you not want to draft, just like tell yourself you don't have to revise it if you don't want to and just write it for fun. Like especially if you enjoy drafting, then enjoy it. Let yourself enjoy it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if the past not revised manuscripts are the things that are bothering you, there is like phrase that I try to live my life by generally, that sunk costs are irrelevant. It doesn't matter if you've written 1 million books in the past and you haven't published them, like it's gonna happen in the future. Like this book is what should be the most important to you right now. If this is the thing you're working on and you're passionate about it, like those other books can be important at another time. we had a question from N. Griswold. Can we talk about being inspired by other books or movies, etc.? I write down so many quotes from TV shows that inspire me. Does anyone else do that?
Yes.
Yes.
Megan and I have a favorite game with our book called, like, who is the pop culture doppelganger for each of our characters?
Yes.
So we go through and, oh, this character from this movie is exactly like this character in our book. And then we, like, send each other gifts of that character. And it's...
Yeah. Most recently, I woke up to, like, 10 Bucky gifts from... That was yesterday, I think.
It's a good way to wake up. I don't know.
Not complaining.
Sorry, not sorry.
Yeah. A lot of moments in my books are inspired by different pop culture things that I love. Like, I'm working on a scene right now that's like super influenced by the first time in the office that Dwight sees Pam crying. And he's like, who did this to you? And like, I love that so much. And so like, I wrote it down in like big letters and saved an image from the office. And while I'm not going to like copy the scene or anything, obviously, I think having those favorite things to get you in that headset and make you feel those emotions is super great.
Yeah, and I even sometimes, like, either before I start writing a project or like while I'm still like pretty early on in it, I'll have like a spot in my notebook for the story where I'll write down like things that I love that I want to incorporate. So like if it's like a certain type of relationship that's in like a show, like I want a friendship like these two characters from this show, or I want a character who is like has an attitude like this character, or who has an arc like this character. Like I keep a list of those sorts of things to go back to be like, oh, this is what I wanted from this story. And it like does like kind of motivate me when I'm like, oh, what's the point of this? And I'm like, oh yeah, this is something I should focus on because this is what I wanted. So, because a lot of times when I'm like losing motivation, it's because I've lost sight of those things that like I was excited to do.
Yeah, for sure. I always love just being able to look back at a book I've written and just feel like it's populated with all of my favorite characters from like 20 different videos and stuff.
Well, because I think, so like with this game that Megan and I have right now, our book has like Rory from Gilmore Girls and Bucky and Captain America, who are not actually friends in the book, and Hook from Once Upon a Time, and
Johnny
Harley
Bravo.
Quinn. Johnny Bravo, I forgot about him. Yes, it's a masterpiece. What can we say? But
Yeah.
It's the Johnny Bravo that really puts it over the top in the
he's a fantastic character too.
Yeah. He's one of the gods. It's fine. Yeah. Yeah. We talk about this all the time because I think there's just something so extra fun about having someone to brainstorm all of the different things with. So
yes.
if you guys ever get sick of hearing me and Kyra talk about our book,
just know that you're not nearly as sick of it as like the other word nerds are, because they get even more of it than you do.
Or like Kelly and Aaron are in our writing group
They
together.
have the worst.
We had a question. From Words Fall, how do you not get frustrated when writing? I always get frustrated when I get stuck or think I am doing bad.
I do get frustrated when I'm writing. I think for me, a lot of it's just like having written long enough to realize that if I let the frustration get to me and stop writing, then I'll be even more frustrated with myself later when it's like, man, I know I was not writing that scene well, but like, I wish I had written some of it because now I'm like, Yeah, because now I still have no scene and no idea how to fix it.
Yeah. Yeah, I get more frustrated with myself for not finishing things than for like finishing them poorly. Like, I'd rather just finish it. Also, like, it helps to hopefully you have things that you do love about your story that you can look back on. Like, it helps when I know that there's like a certain scene that I can go back and like read over and be like, ah, this is great. I love this story so much. Even if like the writing is terrible, just to be like, I love this scene and these characters, you know, or having like the Pinterest boards, or like it's kind of the point of having these like inspiration things to go back to, or like your list of things that you love that you wanted to incorporate to the story, because they help when you're feeling frustrated to like remember what you love about it.
I recently had something where it was like, I had this like I'm working on my revisions, and like I just kept having this thing that like kept coming up that was like a huge problem with the plotting. That was, I was just like so stuck on it, but I just kind of like worked out like everything else that I could get worked out at that point, and then like took the one thing that was a real problem to writing group, and we kind of talked through it, and now it's not too much of a thing anymore. So I think, but I don't know that I would have been able to do that if I just like gotten so frustrated that I just like stopped until I figured that thing out. Like, for me, I had to go and do like all the other things that I could take care of. So I think that helped too.
Yeah. This is where having a Pinterest board really comes in handy, because you have all those things that you love that can remind you of all the things you love. And one of the things that I think is great about NaNoWRIMO is that you don't have time basically to stop and just take weeks to like circle your way out of a plot hole or whatever. And so while February Megan might not let myself just totally shift the gears of the story and keep going, November Megan is like, why don't we throw in this mythical creature and just see what happens? Nicole
I know
W.
next week is about plot. Oh, I know next week is
Go
about
ahead.
plotting, but I'm not going to be here, and that's probably okay because you don't want my advice on plotting anyway, because I don't. But for me, a lot of times, if I'm really stuck, my solution is like do something really terrible to the characters, or sometimes it's to like have them go to a party, and sometimes I do both at the same time. So like,
I mean, going to parties is terrible, so that would be my actual nightmare.
So I don't know. I don't know that is a great strategy, but it does always like, well, I had this thing that was a problem, but now they're just trying to stay alive. So now I've got different problems to focus on. So, and it keeps the pacing like engaging, you know. That's my 2 cents, and that's all you need to know about plotting and why I won't be here next week.
November is so much about just pushing forward anyway, that if there is a moment where you're like getting frustrated and stuck, you can just skip ahead. Be like, come back to this later. This scene, I need to come up with action and I don't feel like I can do it. And then you have like 20 words that you've written and you can just jump ahead to the next thing and keep going.
Yeah. And I don't know that this has been mentioned yet in our kind of nano prep chats, but I think that's kind of a skill that you have to develop, this ability to just kind of like push yourself through it, or to kind of, you know, work around something on the spot. And that's why for me, like, I've won Nano a couple times now, but I didn't win it the first couple times I did it. But I do think the first couple times I did it and lost, like, I learned a lot, and I just got better at like this kind of, you know, flying by the seat of your pants, basically.
Yeah, for sure. We had a question from Nicole. How many Pinterest boards does everyone have? I have at least a dozen. Tongue out, smiley face.
Now I gotta go check. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I'm checking mine too. We'll say writing related Pinterest boards.
Yeah.
I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
My Pinterest is loading really slowly.
I have 8 public ones, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 secret ones, which is a total of 17.
I'm definitely on the lower end. I have 6 writing related Pinterest boards.
I have 14.
Okay.
I have like a good mix too of like just general for like these are ideas that I would like to use someday and like manuscript specific ones.
Mm.
Yeah, I have one general one, and then the other 5 are all specific.
I have one general one and 16 specific ones. And like both of them are just named Shiny Idea.
Yeah, see, I usually don't create a board until I'm pretty sure I'm gonna write a book. There's like one in there that I just made because I was like, one day I want to write something with pirates, and so it's just a lot of pirate pictures. But the rest of them are all things that like I've either written or I'm going to write soon. So because once I start hitting things, it's pretty hard to stop myself from like writing it immediately. So I usually wait.
Yeah, well, and sometimes I try to name them things like Revolutionary War so that it's not like the title of my book or anything. And then if any of my followers, and I think I have like 5 followers and Megan's one of them, but
I'm actually all 5.
Notice they're not like, no, that's not true. At least one of them is my brother. I know because he said, why do you have a Pinterest board about Vikings? which was really rich because I happen to know my brother has like an entire Pinterest board dedicated to Aquaman. So, but and not like the new Aquaman who's really buff, like the cartoon Aquaman. So
our brothers totally would get along.
Yeah, we need to introduce them.
Yeah. Everyone's sharing how many Pinterest boards they have.
I think the biggest one I've seen is 30.
Wow.
56 boards. Okay, yeah,
but most of them are secret.
Yeah. Only about half of my writing boards are secret. It used to be you could have only like 3 secret boards, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of my older ones are not secret, but most of my newer ones are.
Mm-hmm.
I never said Aquaman wasn't dope. Sorry, we just got that comment.
Sorry, Aquaman is great.
I'm just saying I don't have a Pinterest board for it. There's like I like Aquaman, and then I have a Pinterest board for Aquaman.
Yeah. Most of my secret boards are the ones where I was like, oh, I have a couple pins, but I'm not sold enough on the idea to have a significant number of pins. Mm-hmm. So like I have one that I had an idea for like an alternate history Titanic novel, and it has like 6 pins and 3 of them are just blueprints of the Titanic.
Yeah, I don't have any secret ones because I figure no one cares enough to go in.
I do.
Let me look at her writing boards. You're allowed to. It's cool.
Yeah, I pull your Pinterest at least once every 3 days just to see what new things you're pinning. Keep up on your life. Yeah. Yeah. The secret section is also where I keep a lot of my old boards, like from college, where I was pinning much less gore and much more recipes I thought I wanted to try. Because I haven't always been this creepy. I mean, I have, but not in writing. Or like tattoos, when I was thinking about getting this tattoo and I wasn't sure what I wanted and stuff. So like stuff I was like, no one actually wants to see this. We had a question. Where did it go? We had a question from Nicole. How do you turn an inspired idea from just an idea into an actual fleshed out book? Which we are going to be addressing it. Bleh, my words broke. We're going to be addressing it in depth next week. So we'll have a full hour chat about turning like your idea into a full plot. Did you guys have any thoughts you wanted to add to that now while my dog is trying to get in?
For me, in a lot of ways, it like just takes time. which is not like a good answer when Nano is in a month and you need to figure it out before then. But and sometimes like some of that time it takes is like while I'm writing it, I like figure out more of it. Because like I can't like force my brain to like figure out a book, and when I try to, it comes out terribly, and then I have to like replot the whole thing again. So basically just like time and like going through those different inspiration sources, like the playlists and the Pinterest boards, and just like writing down every idea you have until like they actually start to resemble a book. That's all I got.
Yeah. I think maybe because I'm super pantser, like I tend not to worry about that. I like make sure I know enough about my characters that I am invested in them. And if I'm excited enough, I'll usually go with like, I know what the opening scene is. And from there on out, it's just kind of a series of like, what can I do to my characters now that will be bad, but not so bad that I can't get them out of it.
Mm-hmm.
So again, like no one should probably take a plotting advice from me, but
I would recommend a book if you are like worried about it and you're worried that next week it's going to be bumping up too close to November to start plotting. I would highly recommend the book The Anatomy of Story by John Truby. It's a pretty thick book, but it takes you like step by step through creating a really amazing plot, and it has changed my life.
Also, I've never read it, but Nano has a book called No Plot, No Problem. So, like, the creator of Nano wrote that, right? I think.
Oh, yeah. No Plot, No Problem.
That's really helpful.
Holly Lisle, Lisle, also has a, like, 99-cent plot workshop that takes you through from having 0 ideas to having enough basics of a plot to go in and know what ending you're working towards and what great twists to have along the way. I wanted to move in a little bit. We've talked about Pinterest and Spotify, and we've talked about names and like having a list of names ready. Is there anything else you guys do to like get your inspiration ready when you're about to start writing a book?
I know last week, I think it was, I talked a little bit about how I actually really like filling out character sheets, which is weird because I don't like doing any other kind of like real prep work, like plotting. But I don't know. For me, it's fun to be like, because I think what drives me so much when I'm writing is like just these characters that I'm in love with. It's fun for me to like go look at, like I use Scrivener and I'll fill out the page on them. Like, oh, look, they're a Ravenclaw. I love that about them. And, you know, like, just remember it. Like, and I have like a whole series of things that, like, I always have to know their Hogwarts house. I always have to know like their love language. If you've ever like read about the 5 love languages, trying to think what some of the other ones are. But for me, like, just being able to go back and re-fall in love with the characters. That's my other big thing, I think.
Yeah. I always like, once I start like really starting to think about a story and a plot, like beyond just like the shiny new idea Pinterest board phase, is I always get like a separate notebook just for that story, and I just start like writing down like every little idea I have, whether it's an idea for a scene or for a character arc or for like a relationship between 2 people, whatever it is. And I'll usually have like a page dedicated to like each main character that's like, here's the main stuff about them that I need to know. And it's just kind of where I just gather like all my ideas and all my inspiration into like one place so that I can find it again. Because I used to keep it like all over the place and could never find anything. And actually right now I can't find my notebook, so that's fun. But yeah, that's usually what I do.
Yeah. I don't fill out the sheets as much, like character sheets. But I also really like to, like in my notebook, just keep a list of things that are inspiring me. Like it always starts on a note card and then it graduates into my notebook once I have enough things that I know roughly where I want the story to go. Because I write creepy things, I also like to write down a list of all the things that scare me. And I keep that list on hand. It's like the front page of my notebook is just a really long list of things that freak me out. And so when I'm working on an idea and like developing the idea further and trying to compile everything I want that idea to be, I like to look at that list and see like, how can I take 2 or 3 of these things and like really stick them in this story? We had another question. Flautist58 asked, sorry, I always want to say your username just like really fancy, like it's a flautist. Because that was always how I talked about it when I told people I played the flute. I was like, oh, I'm a flautist. But Flautist58 asked, when gathering or expanding ideas, is there a way to know when to stop? I find that I usually have enough material for multiple books while I'm working on my current project.
I think that's a normal problem to have. We all have more ideas than time.
Yeah. And like the more I work on a project, the more I have ideas for other projects.
For me, I like to use those as like motivation. Like, I want to write these ideas, but I got to finish this idea first. So I got to work on this idea.
It's true.
Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Another great thing about November is that you have a deadline. And so you can spend all of this month coming up with all of the fun ideas you want, pinning all the hundreds and hundreds and thousands of photos that are on Pinterest onto your Pinterest boards. But then once November 1st hits, like, it doesn't matter how much or little you have. It's time. You have to start writing.
Yeah.
We had a question from Wordsfall. When you have more than one genre of a book, what do you put on Nano? I just put the one that I like the best.
Yeah. I usually just put young adult, even though young adult is not actually a genre.
I know.
And it upsets me. I just put that because I'm like, that's what it is.
In my video for yesterday, I had to edit out like a minute-long rant about how YA is not a genre.
Like in a way I get having it as a designation on there so you can be like, yeah, I'm writing a YA book for like when you like connect with people or whatever, have buddies or whatever, but it's also like, it's not a genre. And like, I'm writing YA, but it's also fantasy.
Yeah.
Fix it, Nano. If they just had like YA fantasy, YA contemporary, like different categories of YA.
Or just like, you have like this one you choose your audience and this one you choose your genre.
Oh, yeah, so cute.
Yes. Yeah.
It seems like it would not be hard to do, but
Nano, please get on this.
We have the social media person's contact.
Yeah.
Like, excuse me.
I'm sure they're in
get in touch with the web manager. We had a great comment relating to when to stop with ideas from Matophilia, who said, the line for me is between these ideas might really contribute to my book and I'm procrastinating writing by gathering more info and ideas.
Yeah.
We all know when we're procrastinating. Like, let's be honest. We're never like, oh, I thought I was being productive. No.
I also never want it to get to the point where I'm like, I've already like used up my enthusiasm pinning things.
Truth. Do you both use Scrivener?
No, I use Google Docs.
Sometimes.
That's all I
Google
use.
Docs. I've started using
I am wildly inconsistent in that, as in all things. So sometimes I write in Word, sometimes I write in Scrivener, and sometimes I write in Google Docs.
Yep. Right on.
I do a lot of moving between like my work computer and my home computer, and so it's easy to just do it on the cloud. I don't have to worry about moving
A lot of times I like to switch to a different platform between drafts a lot of times. So like if I draft in Word, one draft, then a lot of times I'll switch to Scrivener for the next draft or whatever. Just to keep things fresh, I guess. I don't know.
I think Word is probably best for like late drafts because you need to be able to format for querying and stuff if you're going to be doing that, or for self-publishing if that's what you're going to be doing. It's easier to just have it in there.
Yeah.
Also, I'm not entirely sure I know how to use Scrivener, so I do use it, but I'm like, I know there's a ton of things I could be doing with this that I don't know how to do and haven't bothered to learn. But
yeah. I love Scrivener for first drafts, and one of the things I'll do to like start getting pumped is I will take in. I like to make like mood boards or whatever. Have you seen the thing? Oh, it's like aesthetics, where people take like 6 photos that really encapsulate their character or their book, and I like to make those and then import them into my Scrivener. That way I don't even have to go on the internet. Like, I don't have to look at my Pinterest if I'm in the middle of writing something and I'm like, I just need 10 seconds to regroup. Because I know
for me, like, that's where all my character sheets are. So I think I actually usually do use Scrivener for first drafts and then switch over to Word or Google Docs.
Yeah.
I love my character sheets.
Yeah, I like, since I don't like have to work in an office aside from this office, I have Scrivener on my desktop and on my laptop, and then I just save all of my Scrivener files into Dropbox, so it auto updates on both of them, so I can go back and forth if I need to. And I love their index card feature, where it makes it look like everything is on index cards on a corkboard, because obviously I love index cards regularly. This is my stack I keep on my desk. So I love seeing that, and I love like writing down, oh, scene 1, I'm gonna have this, this, and this. Like, this is the thing I'm excited to have happen, and I like labeling them if there's gonna be multiple points of view and stuff. That like gets me really stoked to start writing something. We've been going for about an hour. I think like exactly an hour, possibly. Do we have any last minute thoughts on, oh, we have a quick question, and then we'll do last minute thoughts on inspiration. But N. Griswold asked, Kyra, where do you get your character sheets from if you use a template?
So I usually just use the one in Scrivener. And then, like I said, I have kind of a list of things that, like, maybe I'll sometime film like a guest video about it or something. So things like, I always want to know their not their Gryffindor house, their Hogwarts house. I always need to know their love language. I have I have a whole set of like little exercises I put them through. So like, I like to think about like, oh, if they were in college, what would they major in? So like, I don't know, it's really random. So I use like the one in Scrivener, and then my own random concoction of character exercises that I like to do. So maybe I will do a video on that sometime, because I have a hard time remembering on the spot.
I'm putting a link into the discussion section where someone talks about character sheets in Scrivener and gives some like examples of things that you could put in your own character sheet if you don't have Scrivener, but still want something similar to what is in there that Kyra uses. So that is in the discussion now. Any final thoughts on getting inspiration?
I don't know. I'm excited now. Like, I want to go write things.
Yeah. Just get as much of it as you can now, because November's going to come and you don't want to have that excuse to procrastinate by saying like, oh, well, I have to spend 3 hours on Pinterest looking at octopus tentacles. Or like, oh, I have to find the perfect song for this chapter. I can't write it.
I need to find the name for this character who works at the coffee shop where my characters are eating.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like, yeah, it's all about finding things that will help you remember like what you love about the story and why you want to write it. So just be looking for things like that, whether it's pictures or music or just notes you've made.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny because when I'm doing it, I always think it's like for like right now because I'm prepping, but it really ends up being more for like later when I need to like, you know, when I'm mad at my book and I have to like go be friends with it again.
Like, but look how pretty these characters are.
Yes. Yeah, yeah, basically.
Like, pretty people, let me write about them.
All right. Well, thank you so much for watching tonight, everyone. We'll be back next week talking all about plotting. So taking that little idea you have and the new fancy inspiration boards you've created for said idea and actually turning it into a cohesive story that you have outlined come November. We will have videos every day this week. And then starting in November, we'll be doing write-ins every Sunday. That is when all the word sprinting will be happening. I've seen a few questions in the discussion about that. So while we usually do a write-in once per month, this month we're doing all nano prep, and next month is going to be write-ins every week. We love you guys, and we will see you next week. Subscribe. Bye.
Bye.